different genres, or they call it, of music, different styles of music. Do you notice music in general has a common theme, unless it's upbeat? Like, I mean, like I like the music from the 60s and 70s, the mid 70s to mid 70s. That was even the late 60s. That was even the early 60s too. That basically was all upbeat, and the message, the message was all happy. Like, this one by the Zombies called "Summertime," right? Really cool song. Check it out. Or even up tempo stuff. If you listen to some worship music about Jesus Christ, the ones that have more of an upbeat and everything else, it gets you moving, right? Because you as a human being operates on waveform, right? So it anything supposed to get you going like that, right? If most people who are running a race, right, the fastest runners are the ones who basically move faster, right? And what makes them win the race is because they move faster. They know how to lift up their feet off the ground. They know how to move like a gazelle, right? They know how to not let their body stay heavy, right? Now, getting back to music, there is no coincidence why blues is called blues. And although I like some of the up tempo blues stuff, if you listen to the words of blues, it's always about something being done to you or something that keeps you in the blues. Well, it has an effect on your life. Same with rock and roll. If you listen to certain beats and listen to certain piercing of the instrument and the way it's played and who is playing it, its intention is to influence you, right? That's what keeps you buying it over and over again. Same with jazz. Jazz puts people in a certain zone. And jazz actually came from the olden times when and I may be wrong in some of this, when they sure they had swing jazz, they have the boom, boom, boom. It gets people in the place who feel really groovy, like, and it was a place of when they had the time of the poets, right? They would tell a story and they would rhyme it. And so I assume anyway, I could be wrong on this, but jazz was actually implemented as a background, right? As people told their poems or whatever. It kept everyone, whatever music is intentions to do, is to keep a group of people pasted to it as the source, and everyone is basically comes into a hypnotic state by it, right? Now, the musician, and it dependent upon the musician. If that musician is selling something from their soul, whether it be good or bad, it comes through the music. It has to hit the vibration, the tones of the instruments, and it's written because of, it's written for a reason. Now, whether it be invisible entities are behind it or not, the soul of the musician still has power, right? And the deliberate message of it is to associate to you, and you become associated to it. So then you begin to act differently, dress differently, and become different, right? Based upon what the intention of the music is supposed to do. So you'll say, well, I don't think so. I think music is just music. No, it has an end result. And that's to make you part of it, right? It's to make you become a follower, right? Whatever in any level of intention of anything given to in life, there's a cause and there's an effect. That's how we live our life. We can't escape it. We can't. How do we escape music? I mean, music is beautiful. Some music, I just love it. You play like And I'll say if you're gonna be, and you will, whether you like it or not, unless you're a morose person, I don't need music, or whatever. Or you're a naturist. Okay, you're a naturist, right? There's still the music of nature, right? So music is music, one way or the other. When God made Lucifer, he was the carrier of music. God did not create him to create music. He basically created Lucifer to be a carrier of music. So God loves music. God loves music. It's part of his tone, his quality, his vibrational factor. By everything exists not outside of him. It says we live and move and have our being in God, right? And that's not talking in a new age sense. That's a fact, right? The emulation and emanation coming from God, even it says in the avenue of hertz, right? Music has different frequencies, right? God communicates this very movement coming out from him. It basically operates on all those levels, right? So whatever music you're listening to, its intention is to bring you into it, right? Your vibrations, your level, your hertz, you operate in that level. Now the message of the music is to hypnotize you, to keep you in that message, right? And people who like the blues will, in some way, shape, or form, will always be singing the blues. Can their very essence of who they are create enough around the environment to keep them singing the blues? You bet you 100%. Same with rock and rollers, same with jazz, same with whatever other cultural you come from, right? That music keeps you in the state that you are when you're listening to it. I don't like certain types of music because I feel, and I'm going with that, I feel a certain emotion come on me when I start listening to that music, and so I don't listen to it. If I firmly believe the more up tempo you are, the more higher level, like, the music is all happy and good. It keeps you, and it will affect your creational factor. You will find yourself having more of the same depending upon the kind of music you're listening to. And do you have the power to create? Yes, through the avenue of faith. You will begin to speak differently. You will begin to act differently. Even the people around your associations, your circle, is based upon the music you're listening to. How powerful is music? It is incredibly powerful. That's why we have concerts. That's why we have shows. That's why we have revenues, uh, places that people go to gather to listen to it, is because it's meant to gather you. And the more bigger the circle, the more powerful the event that you are part of, right? How do you manage to stay separated from music and still like it? Is that you don't join its circle, especially if its circle gets you to be obedient by how you dress, how you act. Even some people go as far as they start to mark their bodies, or they do certain things to be socially acceptable or branded with, oh, that's a rock and roller. Oh, he's a blues guy, I bet you. Or a jazz. He's jazzy, man. He's real jazzy. And now this is really serious. Now this is when it gets to the point of really it's having a serious effect on you. Certain types of music will get you to take in certain substances, right? Alcoholism didn't just come about; it came about with music. Same with drug addiction. Okay, you will never find a person who's getting drugged up ain't listening to music. It's a direct correlation. It has its muse. So it's directly proportional to the music. It all has its little world, right? Listening to up tempo stuff and liking life and loving life. Like let's say, for instance, I mean, you know, you think to yourself, you if you were to look in deeply into musicians, right? Like I mean, you take for instance the Beach Boys. I mean, their music was so up tempo and beautiful, and yet the guy who wrote most of the stuff, he was a morose person. He was a most given, and I think he one of them committed suicide. And you think, how's that possible? How can a guy who's creating this stuff can actually go off his life or be given to drug addiction and all these other things? See, that's another thing about music. The musicians you're listening to, you're also listening to their message. I'm talking their soul message. And that's where you got to be very careful about this also, because they're not only giving you a nice message through their music, and the music is good because they pour their soul into it. You're hearing more than just music. You're hearing talent. You're hearing certain deep things happening in the music, right? But it's also you are experiencing, and that's where some people are get so dung in the music. They will go and try to repeat repeat the tragic life of the musician. Music should never intend to influence you to the point that you are now repeating the messenger's life. Some music were written in specific time frames of that person or specific time frame, and you'll hear it in the music when the music is actually has a good tone to it, and other times when it doesn't. You're buying into more than just a message. You're buying into the messenger and what's going on in their life. It blows me how people get so addicted to Elvis and their lives begin to take on strange turns also. I'm sure as that people they will listen to certain music based upon the time frame that had good memories of it, or that time in history when it was good. Yes, that's all fine and dandy, but I'll leave you this: this music has more than the music. It has a message, and it's very powerful. That's why it's called a medium. It's media, man. It really is powerful. And I'll just go with this, man. Stay with music had good messages. Stay with music has good beat. Stay with music that actually gets you feeling good. But be careful that it's not making you feel good. That where your interpretation is of good is the music, the message of the music. Let it be for keeping you in a high vibrational state. And the best kind of music I'll always say to get back to, go and experiment with it. If you're not someone who believes in God, go listen to music about God. Listen, and of course, make sure it's good, nice, up-tempo music. Put it once in a while on, listen to it, and tell me how you feel afterwards. When I say afterwards, I'm talking give it days, months, weeks, but just experience the effects and say, you know what? I'm noticing even around my life, things are changing. I'm noticing that hey, even my environment is changing. I'm noticing things that didn't happen for me is happening on a good level. So I'll leave you with that. Music is vibrational. It's also effective in changing your environment. You all have a good day and do like and subscribe. Thank you.